Hello. Class, we are going to be talking about note taking today, and specifically note taking from texts, textbooks, that kind of thing. Um, I would suggest to you that this note taking seminar can be just as easily applied to any context, whether you're sitting in class taking notes with very little modification. The reason I like to go through a note taking seminar, mini seminar, with my classes is because I wish somebody had done it for me when I was sitting in your side of the desk. I had to figure this stuff out on my own, and I probably could have benefited from somebody going through these techniques, at least giving me an introduction to the different techniques when I was your age. So that's why I want to do this for you guys. So without further ado, we'll talk about the three different methods of note taking that I identify in this lecture. The first, of course, is outlining, which I'm sure you're familiar with, at least having seen before. An outline is organizing notes by way of numbers or letters or Roman numerals, bullet points. And the second is a graphic organizer, using a graphic organizer, which is essentially using bubbles and lines, connecting bubbles and squares to show the relationship between ideas. It's essentially a graphic outline, a picture-based outline. Then the third system is called the Cornell System. The Cornell System is developed by a company which offers products that are a student-centered note-taking system designed specifically for students. Now, with very little effort, you can create and adapt their work for your own. And I'll show you how to do that, at least in a very basic sense, here in a couple minutes. So let's dive into outlining. The outlines are easiest to create on a computer. Again, with an outline, you are taking a main idea as your first point, and then nesting supporting ideas within the main idea so you can keep the information organized. Okay, the advantages, of course, are familiarity. And just about everybody has seen an outline before. Maybe you prepared them before. Organization certainly keeps information well planned out. You can spot relationships relatively easily using an outline. You can see how details or sub-ideas relate to a larger point. Now, disadvantages of outlining include the learning curve. It can take a while to learn how to effectively create a good outline, as with anything. And the necessity of revision. You have to add in new information. You may have to rewrite part of your outline notes as you spot different connections or as you add in different information. With that said, again, they're easiest to create on a computer. Using Word, you go to Format, Bullet numbering, and click on Outline, and then they have any number of variety of different methods, whether you want to use a number-based, letter-based, Roman numeral-based, whatever makes you happy. Outlining is most easily done on the computer. Graphic organizer, this is a graphic organizer off to the right on this slide. It's also called mind mapping. It basically is a means of using pictures in different shapes, circles, squares, whatever, to show the relationships graphically. Okay, so again, you might have, think of the topic there on your screen here as being a Roman numeral 1, let's say, and then each fact is an A, B, C, D, E. Now, you don't have to letter them like that. You can use any of these techniques however you want. But you can think of graphic organizers as creating a picture of the reading material. And then to review, you cover a fact and check your recollection. Okay, the advantages are ease of review. All you have to do is cover up one part of the graphic organizer or another, and you can check your own recollection of the information. You can see the interconnections between ideas because it's there in a picture. It's pretty easy to create. It's circles and lines showing connections. The Disadvantages tend to be students don't put enough information into the graphic organizer, especially when they're first starting out using them. And of course, as with anything, if you need to revise or redraft, you got to add in new information. You got to maybe redraw your graphic organizer if you get enough new information. The Cornell system is a third style. And again, it makes a set of notes more organized. Review becomes a lot more efficient, and it requires a little preparation, though. What you need to do, as you can see on the slide, before you take your notes, you take a standard sized piece of paper, you draw a line 2 inches from the left side down to about 1 inch or 2 inches from the bottom. You draw another line 2 inches from the bottom across the width of the paper. And as you can see, you've just now created 3 different sections of your notes. You take the bulk of your notes in section 2. You write your cues or headings in section 1, or main ideas that relate to the notes in section 2. And then down at the bottom of each page of notes, you write a summary, 1 sentence, 2 sentences of the main idea of that entire section. And I suppose the ease of review is the biggest advantage. You cover up 1 or 2 of those other sections, and you can quiz your own knowledge of the main ideas, the details, or the summary with great ease. It's simply covering up one part of your notes. Ease of preparation, it takes a couple seconds to prepare the note sheet into those 3 sections, and then bam, you have plenty of room to take your notes. Now, the disadvantage, of course, is lack of familiarity. This is kind of a new idea, and you got to be consistent. If you start going Cornell, you can't go Cornell for part of a unit, outline part of a unit, because it's just going to weaken your notes. You're not going to have sufficient information in the Cornell, so it's going to be harder to review, and then you're not going to have enough information outlined, for example, because you'll have Cornelled it, and the 2 systems don't really play well together. So an overview of the 3 systems. I want to take a final couple minutes to suggest to you how to make the textbook your friend. A lot of students look at textbook reading with great trepidation. They don't like it. It's dry. It's hard to follow, all this kind of stuff. Frankly, textbook reading is the easiest reading around. You got to use the organization of the textbook to organize your notes. So for example, the chapter headings, the subheadings, the paragraph headings of your book can become your outline, Roman numeral 1, subsection A, sub-idea 1, your Cornell main ideas or note sections, or it could become your bubbles and your squares within a graphic organizer style. When you're organizing your notes, be consistent, okay? For example, if you were to ask your teacher and your teacher says, look, in every reading quiz I give you, I'm going to give you a section of vocab of that reading section. Well, then you should probably keep all your vocab in your notes in one spot, top of the page. And most textbooks bold vocab words, right? So at the beginning of a reading, before you even read anything, list all of the vocab words at the top of the page and then define them. So that way, when it comes time for a reading quiz, boom, your vocab's right there. You just go to the vocab, fill them in, and then move on to the rest of the reading quiz. And if you're consistent with that format, you're going to be much better off. Okay. For me, I find this to be a very useful approach to taking textbook notes. I read a section, I go section by section. I call it chunking. Break it down into chunks, manageable chunks. Read a section of your notebook for understanding. So, or read a section of your notebook. Read a section of your textbook for understanding. Don't write anything down the first read through. Kind of read through it. Do you understand it? Okay. Once you have read through it, now go back and look for the main idea and maybe a couple important subpoints. All right. You've read through it once. Now you're looking for just the main idea of that section. Paraphrase the main idea. Paraphrase just means put it into your own words. Okay? Paraphrase the main idea, paraphrase the subpoints, write the paraphrased ideas into your notes. Why? Because they're your ideas. You're more likely to remember your thoughts than you are somebody else's. I mean, that's just the way our brains work. If you're paraphrasing the notes, you have a much greater likelihood of remembering and recalling that information. If you just write down as you read through the first time a section of your note of your textbook, frankly, you're going to write down probably too much information that's not relevant, and you're wasting your time. Okay? The whole idea here is to save time. Okay? You might think, wait a second, I'm reading through this material multiple times. Well, right, but you're going to only write down the relevant information, and that's ultimately going to save you time when you take notes. Another thing I recommend, do your notes on a computer, a laptop, an iPad, whatever. Do your notes electronically, and then you can organize them however you need. You can cut and paste information. You can better relate ideas. If you're outlining, for example, you can better relate ideas that way. Cornell, I'm almost sure, has an electronic form that you can use if you choose to go Cornell. Again, the world is your oyster. Note-taking, what system of note-taking you choose to pursue is up to you. Make yourself happy, experiment, and we'll talk more about note-taking tomorrow in class. Thanks.